We've watched the UN repeatedly accuse Israel of obstructing aid, even when hundreds of trucks of aid were going into Gaza on a daily basis. Now that Israel has a plan to work with non-UN partners, the UN's obstructing this plan. Why is the UN seemingly incapable of holding Hamas accountable for their theft of aid, knowing full well that this aid often doesn't even get into the hands of the Gazans who need it?
Well, Emily, first of all, I'm very happy to be here this afternoon with many friends. You know, for me, it's inspiring to march on Fifth Avenue, to see so many friends of Israel, you know, coming from the UN. Usually I'm by myself carrying the flag, but, you know, seeing so many friends, it gives us a lot of courage. And we just, heard the mother of Yonatan, Ayelet, and we know we have a long way to go until we bring all of them back home. I have no expectation from the UN. So we have to understand that today what's happening, that the United States and Israel are taking a different course without the UN. And they're upset about it. They don't understand how can we even discuss humanitarian issues without the UN. But the UN failed. They failed before October 7th. They failed after October 7th. The fact until today, almost 19 months after October 7th, the Secretary General of the United Nations, he haven't visited Israel yet. That's outrageous. And also we know everything about UNRWA. I think what's happening today, we see the leadership of the US coming with new ideas, also with the humanitarian issues. And the UN, they are trying to boycott it, but it will not help them. They can choose maybe to join it, but they cannot stop it.
Now, changing gears a little bit, we have seen a renewed push for Palestinian statehood, particularly in the UN, even after the atrocities of October 7th. Can you explain a bit about why this is so dangerous and what you are doing within the UN to fight back against this?
You know, for us, and I'm not talking about my friends from Yehuda Shomron, Dudu, and many other friends, you know, to speak about the Palestinian state, it's science fiction today. Let's admit it. But some people at the United Nations are actually considering this idea. And on June 17th, there will be a conference in the United Nations that France and Saudi Arabia will lead this conference. And the title of the conference will be a Palestinian state. And they are encouraging head of states to come and to attend. So for sure, we will not take part of this fiasco. It's detached from reality. And together with the United States, we are telling our allies that they should look at what happened on October 7th. They should see what's happening today in Judea and Samaria. That, you know, the PA, they are very weak. You know, today we're taking a lot of actions in Judea and Samaria because the PA is not capable of doing much. So I think for us, we will continue to work together with the US and make sure that those ideas will stay in the mind of those people.
It's interesting you brought up that the PA is too weak to carry out the necessary duties, because we've also seen Israel picking up the slack for Syria, for Lebanon, for Yemen, for seemingly many Arab countries in the Middle East pushing back against the Iranian proxies, terror groups. But I want to ask you, you mentioned the U.S. partnership. How is that relationship going inside of the UN today, given that we see repeated resolutions calling for ceasefire without the release of our hostages and other anti-Israel resolutions on a regular basis? Is Israel getting the support that we need from key allies?
Absolutely. And I want to thank the United States. You know, we have read too many headlines, not in Besheva, Dudu, don't worry, but in other outlets, speaking about a crisis between Israel and the US. That's a lie. You know, the US is standing with us. This last week, I was at the Security Council of the United Nations 3 times, and I heard the words of the US ambassador. We know that they are standing with us, and even today, when you speak with the officials, I met Ambassador Witkoff last week, and Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke with President Trump last week. They're standing with us, achieving all the goals of the war, which are bringing all the hostages back and defeating Hamas. So for us, we are not worried about it.
Now, a final question. I know we don't have much longer, but I want to ask you, I know Israel has made quite a few diplomatic strides, even within the UN, the theater of the absurd, and a lot of that is to credit to you for the work that you have done. What are some of your accomplishments within the UN that you have worked on, even during this extremely difficult time?
So, you know, Emily, I never thought I'll come back to this position. By the way, I'm the first, probably the only Israeli to serve twice at the United Nations. You know, after 5 years, it's more than enough. So when I finished my first term, I thought that's it. You know, I wrote a book, I got re-elected to the Knesset, and I moved on. But October 7th changed all of our lives. And when Prime Minister asked me to come back, I told him that I will do it with honor. And we are doing a lot. I just came back 2 weeks ago. I took a delegation of UN ambassadors to Auschwitz and to Israel. And I was surprised to see that 30 UN ambassadors registered and joined me. And it speaks volumes. You know, when during a wartime, you have so many ambassadors coming to stand with us, to march with us in Auschwitz, and then going to see what happened on October 7th. We still have friends. Not everybody is against us, but we have to be strong. We have to decide what we want to achieve, how we want to achieve it, and the rest will follow us.
All right, well, hopefully we'll continue to see more developments on the diplomatic front thanks to leaders like you. Ambassador Danon, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. No, I spoke about the Secretary General.
Right, you suspended their visa, so why don't you give the whole, the right picture for everyone? You cannot ask somebody to come, but also suspend their visa.
I will answer your question. First of all, Secretary Guterres doesn't need a visa. He should have been in Israel on October 8th. That's the role of the Secretary General of the United Nations. Regarding UN officials who are spreading lies against Israel, we will not allow them to come to Israel and continue with that. If they want to do humanitarian work, they are welcome. If they want to do advocacy against Israel, they should do it here at the UN, but not inside Israel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.